channel Knowledge Hub. Friends, subscribe to our channel and click the bell icon for the latest update. आज हम लोग जो क्लास करने वाले हैं वो डेटा वेयर हाउसिंग एंड डेटा माइनिंग की क्लास है, जो कि क्लास नंबर आपका 4 है। और अगर हम बात करते हैं डेटा वेयर हाउस एंड डेटा माइनिंग की, तो ऑलरेडी हमने लास्ट क्लासेस तक हमने यूनिट 1 कंप्लीट कर लिया है एंड यूनिट 2 भी हमने स्टार्ट कर दिया था लास्ट थर्ड क्लास में। एंड यूनिट 2 जो कि अब हमें और फर्दर डिस्कस करना है, दैट इज़ योर द डेटा वेयर हाउस process and that is your technology. We have to discuss this. Then first of all, I will be let you go through with what we will discuss in this class. Is what we have to discuss is your hardware and operating system, and in that same case that it refers to the server platform and that operating system that serves as the computing environment of the data warehouse. And the criteria for the hardware selections, we have the scalability, financial stability, performances, delivery lead time, that we'll discuss in a detail as well. And other than that as well, we will discuss about the client server architecture, where that the term client server originally applied to a software architecture, and that describes the processing between the two programs and application and supporting services as well. And we will discuss about the distributed memory architecture as well, and that is comes under it is a traditional approach to implement the RDBMS and the SMP hardware as well. And talking about the shared disk architecture as well, that implements the concepts of shared ownership of the entire database between the RDBMS servers as well. And in the same reference towards it, that we have to discuss about the shared nothing architecture, that is in that that the data is partitioned across the all disk and the DBMS is partitioned across the multiple core servers as well. So first of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel, so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well. And it will be let you getting all the videos that what we are going to do. As of now, we are doing the data warehousing and that data mining, and as well as we are doing your that is your computer graphics as well as the principles of programming languages. We are talking about artificial intelligence, reasoning, and as well as DBMS as well. So starting with this, the first topic we have to discuss in a detail, that is of your you can say that the medium answer type or a long answer type. So the define the term hardware and operating system. Hardware and operating system. So in the terms of hardware and operating system, if I'm talking about the term hardware and operating system, that refers to the server platform and operating system that serve as computing environment of the data warehouse. Warehousing environment are typically separate from the operational computing environment, that is a different machine is used, and to avoid the potential resources contentions that between the operational and decisional processing as well. The enterprises are correctly varied of computing solution that make compromising the performances levels of missions critical operational system as well. Where the major hardware vendors that have established the data warehousing initiatives or partnership program with the other firm as a bid to provide the comprehensive data warehousing and solution as well as the framework to their customers, thus is very consistent with the solution integrator role, and that major hardware vendors typically plays on large computing projects as well. Going ahead with the detail, and that what we have to discuss as well. And in the same case, talking about it, and I will go ahead with the discussion, that is a typical the two, where in the same case that is that they serve as a computing environment of the data warehouse, and where that the terms hardware and the operating system, as I told you, that refer to the server platform and operating system that serve as computing environment of the data warehouse, and the warehousing environment that are typically separate from the operational computing environments, that is a different machine is used, and to avoid that potential resource contentions between the operational and the decisional process, that enterprises are correctly varied of computing the solution that may compromise the performance levels of the missions, that is critical operational system as well. And the major hardware vendors have established the data warehousing initiatives or partnerships program with other firm in a bid to provide a comprehensive data warehousing solution and the framework to their customers as well. And this is very consistent with the solution integrator role that major hardware vendors typically plays on the large computing projects as well. As I told you about, now we'll go ahead to discuss about it, that is to explain the two primary categories of the parallel hardware that is used for the data warehousing. So let's go ahead. Two primary categories of parallel hardware used for data warehouse. So in this, that the two primary categories of the parallel hardware that is used for data warehousing and the symmetric multiprocessing, that is your SMP machines, and massively parallel processing, that is your MPP machines as well. So we'll go ahead with the discussion in a detail here, and that is the first we have to discuss here is your SMP. SMP stands for symmetric multiprocessing. In symmetric multiprocessing here, that these systems that consist of from a pair here, and that is the system from a pair to as many as 64 processors that shares the memory and a disk input output resources that equally under the control of a copy of operating system. And because the system resources are equally shared between the processors, so that they can be managed from more efficiently, and the SMP system that make use of the extremely high speed interconnections to allow each processor to share the memory on an equal basis. And in addition to the high bandwidth, the low communication latencies is also important if the system is to show the good scalability. And this is because the common data warehouse data, that is the database operations such as index lookups and the join involves in the communications of the small packets. The system that provides a very low latencies interconnects at only 400 seconds. And for the local access, the latency of the Starfire server, that the gigaplans, we can say that the gigaplane XP interconnects to the 200 times less than that of 80,000 seconds as well. And when the amount of the data that contained in each message is small, and that the importance of a low latency is a paramount. So for that, SMP architecture, will draw a SMP architecture here. We'll draw a SMP architecture. So the first, which is the SMP, stands for the symmetric multiprocessing, as I told you. So for the symmetric multiprocessing architecture, we will be having a diagram. That is, the first we have a disk, and that disk is connected to a CPUs as well as memories. This is disk, this is CPU 1, this is CPU 2, and this is CPU 3, and here it is connected to the memory. And this is all the architecture is known as SMP architecture, and this comes under in a frame so that you can just learn it out. The second we have here is your massively parallel processor system. In a massively parallel processor system, and that has been said as in a short form, that is your MPP. And for that, here massively parallel processor system that use a large number of the nodes, and each access using an interconnect mechanism that supports the message based data transfer, that is typically orders of 13 to 18 MB per second, and that illustrate that each node in a self-sufficient complex processor that is consisting of CPU, memory, and a disk subsystem. In the that is your vernacular, and MMP is considered as a shared nothing, because the system because memory and input resources are independent, and with each node even supporting in the two in own copy of the operating system, that MMP system that promises the unlimited scalability with the growth path that allows as many as processor as necessary to be added to a system as well. Talking about the MMP architecture here, that is MMP architecture that provides an excellent performances in situations where the problem that can be partitioned, so that all the nodes that can run in a parallel with a little or no inter-node communication. In reality, the true ad hoc queries that typically of the data warehouse that can only rarely be so well partitioned, and thus limit the performances that MMP architecture actually deliver. And when either that the data skew or high inter-node communication requirements prevails, the scalability of MMP architecture, and then MMP architecture severely limited the reliability in the concern with the MMP system, that because of the loss of the node that does not merely reduces the processing power that is available to the whole system as well, and it can make any database objects that are wholly or are partially located on a failed node unavailable. And an interesting industry that attends is for MMP vendors to the augment single processor, and that is your thin and nodes with a multiprocessor fat nodes that is using the many processors in SMP configuration as well. In the same case, SMP configuration with each node, and if the trends continues, each MMP node will have increasing numbers of processor and the fewer nodes, and the architecture that begins to resemble the clusters of SMP system as well. Going ahead with the detail of MMP, now we'll discuss about the MMP architecture here. We have an architecture. The first we have here is your memory that is connected to a CPU, and this then this is connected to a disk. Okay, so this is a one frame here, which is also connected to the another one, and here it is also a memory with CPU, and of course this is also connected to a disk. Okay, so this is your MPP that is architecture, and here it is, that is your memory, this is CPU, this is disk. Same for here, that is memory, CPU, and the disk. And from this connection it is connected to. So this is an MMP architecture that what we have to discuss in a detail as well. So let's go ahead to discuss another one, that is mention some criteria for the hardware selection. So we'll discuss about it, the criteria for the hardware selection. Criteria for hardware selection. So here the criteria for the hardware selection, that what we have to discuss here. The following selections are recommended for the hardware selection. The first we have is your scalability. In the scalability here, that the warehouse solution is scaled up in the terms of the space and processing power, and this is particularly important if the warehouse is projected to grow at rapid rate as well. The second criteria for the hardware selection we have, that is your financial stability. Financial stability. In the financial stability here, that the product vendors has proven to be a strong and a visible player and in the hardware segment, and its financial performances indicates the growth or stability as well. The third we have here is your price performances. Price performance here, that is the product performs well in the price performances that comparison with the other vendors of the similar product as well. Talking about the fourth criteria for the hardware selection we have, and that is your the delivery lead time. In delivery lead time, that the product vendors that can deliver the hardware or an equivalent services unit within the required time frame, and if the unit is not readily available with the same country, there may be delays due to the importations logistics as well. The next we have here is your the fifth one, and that is your reference sites. In the terms of the reference sites here, and here that the hardware vendors has a reference site that is using a similar units for the same purposes, and the warehousing team that can either arrange a site visit or that interview the representative from the same site visit as well, and alternatively an on-site test of the unit that can be conducted, especially if no references is available as well. Let's go ahead with another one, and that what we have here in the terms of it, that is your availability of support, and that is your sixth one. Availability of support. In the terms of availability of support, that the support for the hardware and its operating system is available, and support response times are within the acceptable down time of the warehouse as well. And examples of the hardware and operating system platform that are provided below the references purposes only, and are by no means up to attempt to provide the complete list of the companies with the warehouse platform. The tools are listed in an alphabetical or a by company name, that is the sequence does not imply on the form of the ranking as well. And in the same case, the another one we have here is your digital. That is your seventh criteria for hardware selection. In the terms of the digital, that is the 64-bit alpha servers, and the digital Unix or open VMS here, and that is the both SMP and MPP configurations are available as well in the digital as well. Let's go ahead with another one, that is your that is IIP, and that is your eighth one. In the IIP here, that IIP 2000 enterprises parallel serve here, and with another one that is your the ninth one, and which is your IBM. In the IBM here, that is your RS 6000 and AIX operating system that have been positioned for the data warehousing, and the AS 400 that has been used for the data mart implementations as well. And in the same case, talking about the next and the last one, that is the 10th one, and that is your Microsoft. In the terms of Microsoft, that the Windows NT operating system that has been positioned quite successful for the data mart deployment as well. Now we'll go ahead with the detail, and that here we'll have to discuss about it, like explain the client server architecture. That is the another question. Client server architecture. In the client server architecture, here that the term client server are originally applied to a software architecture that described the processing between the two programs, an application and a supporting services as well. At that time, the client programs and the server program did not have to be physically separated. They could be a calling program and a called program running simultaneously on the same machine. Thus, the client-server discussions were originally limited to the interactions between one client and the originally that is from one client and one server. And as computer science and the theory of the programming evolved, however, the concept of some programs that are capable of providing the services or managing the resources on behalf of the number of the other programs that become widely accepted, and in fact that the client-server computing models represents a specific instance of distributed cooperative processing where the relationship between the client and the servers is the relationship between the hardware and the software component as well. The client-server computing models that covers a wide range of functions, services, and the other aspects of the distributed environment as well. Now we'll go ahead with the detail of another thing, that is another question that is discussed with help of a diagram that we're discussing about it. The first is your host based processing. Host based processing. In the host based processing here, that is the client server computing model that implies the cooperative processing of a request submitted by a client or a requester that to server and to the server, which processes the request and returns the results to the client. And the client server cooperative processing is really a spatial form of distributed processing, and in which the resources and the tasks affecting the resources as well, and that are spread across two or more discrete computing system as well. While a distributed system, if I'm talking about system, that is while distributed systems are relatively new phenomenon, and that is operating system level distribution is well known and widely used as well. One example may be a distributions of the arithmetic and input-output input-output function between a central processing unit (CPU) and input-output channel controller as well. The other example include the distribution of the network control functions among an IBM host running on a virtual telecommunication as well, and that is your virtual telecommunication access method, that is your VTAM, we have said VTAM. And the communication that controller that running on the network control program, that is NCP, or the distributions of the operating system, that the functions among the multiple CPUs in a multiprocessor such as an IBM 3090 and 600, that 6 processors we have. And the distributed system that evolved from the most primitive environment to support the application processing. It is the host-based processing environment, and that does not have any distributed application processing capabilities as well, and that the host-based application processing is performed on one computer system with attached unintelligent dumb terminals and a single stand-alone PCs or IBM mainframe with attached character-based display terminals are examples of the host, and that is based on the environment from an application processing point of view. The host-based processing is totally non-distributed here. Now we'll go ahead with the detail about it, and that is with the help of a diagram there we'll discuss about the host-based processing environment as well, and then we'll discuss the another one, and which we have to discuss as well, that is your master slave processing as well in the terms of it. And let's go ahead with the diagram of host-based that is processing environment here. So here in the host-based processing, the diagram is this is your host CPU, and here this is your application which goes to the disk, of course, and that is connected to the computers. Okay, so this is your host based processing environment. This is your application. Okay, so this is the host CPU where the application has been connected to a disk, and that is and that has been connected to computers as well. That is a host based processing environment here. Now we'll talk about the second one, and that is your master slave processing. In master slave processing, if I'm talking about here, that the next higher levels of the distributed application processing is master slave processing, as the name implies in the master slave system that the slave computers are attached to the master computers and perform application processing related to the functions only as directed by their masters. And in the application processing in the master slave environment is somewhat distributed, and even though the distribution of the processing tends to unidirectional from the master's computer to its slaves, and typically the slave computers are the capable of some limited local application processing such as on-screen field validations, editing, and a function key processing as well. And examples of the master slave processing environment is a mainframe host computer such as an IBM 3019 and used by the cluster controller and the intelligent terminals as well. So here they are connected to one another. We'll go ahead with the host CPU master, which will be connected to the slaves CPUs here, and that has been connected to the disk as well. So while going through a diagram that is somewhat here, this is your host CPU master, this is your master, and this is your application which is connected to slave CPU. This is also connected to slave CPU, and this is also connected to slave CPU, and this is connected to a disk here. So here also the computer has been connected towards a slave CPU. This is also connected to a slave CPU. This is also connected to a slave CPU, and this is also connected to a slave CPU, and these slaves also are connected to a slave CPU as well. Okay, so this is a diagram for the master slave processing environment here, so you can go through with that as well. Let's go ahead to discuss about the another thing, and that what we have to discuss about explain the functions of server in a client server model, and that will talk about in detail as well. So let's go ahead there. Now we'll talk about that is your functions of server, functions of servers in client server model. So here that the following general functions may be required of the server by the user. The first we have is your file sharing. In file sharing, a file server provides a client with the access to the entire file, so that when one client updates a shared file, all other clients are unable to access these files. And another typical use of the file server is a file transfer between the clients as well. The second is your printer sharing. In the terms of the printer sharing here, that a print server maintains a queue of all files to be printed, and sending each print file in turn to a shared printer as well. Let's go ahead. Another one, that is the third function of the server in the client server model, and that is your database access. In the database access here, that the database server provides the client with the access to the data that resides on the server. However, the DBMSs are more sophisticated than a basic file input-output access method as well. The fourth, we have your communication services. In the communication services, in a workgroup environment that is connected to a remote host processor, and all communication software and the hardware that can be concentrated on a spatial communication server to which the clients may be forwarded their communication requests for processing as well. In the same case, if I'm talking about the functions of the servers in the client server model, there are many more in a detail as well that what we have to even discuss about it. This next we have your fax. That is your fifth one, that is your fax. In the terms of the fax here, that is the client sends and receives fax document by requesting appropriate services and from a fax server, and the following general purposes for the requirement is your multi-user support, and here and for that that is your multi-user support, the scalability, the performances and the throughputs, storage capability, availability, multimedia, networking and communication, that all comes under in it. So we'll go ahead with one by one, and that is the another one is your multi-user support. Multi-user support. In the term of multi-user support here, that even in a small work group environment, a server should be able to service the multi-concurrent clients, and the client running a different task would accept a server to that is to support the multitask processing as well. In the terms of the client server functions, when we are going to talk about it, and in the same case where we have a server as well as the services that server provides is your file, print, database, distributed application processing, administration, communications, email, fax, networking management, resource management, configuration management, that all comes under to the services of the that has been provided by the client server functions here. But the network comes under the reliable high speed and the functions, that is the local application, that the terminal emulations, GUI, email, distributed application processing with reference towards the client, and that comes under the client server model as well, and that is the client server functions as well. Let's go ahead with another one here. The another we have here is your seventh one, and that is your scalability. In the terms of scalability here, if I'm talking about that the scalability is the property of a system which permits an incremental increases in capabilities, performances, throughput, and the number of the supported user, etc., by adding the required computing resources as needed and without changing the application as well. The another we have is your performance and throughput. That is your eighth one. Performance and throughput. In the same case, performance and throughput if I'm talking about, and that server system that should provide performances and that throughput level satisfactory to the business needs and the user requirement in a multi-user client server environment as well. Another we have your storage capacity, and that is your ninth one. In the term of storage capacity here, that the storage demands come from the operating system that need additional storage, and to implement the new advanced features from the user that desire to store various data files on the servers, and from applications such as DBMS and a computer-aided software engineering, that is case that will talk about it, and that tools that some of the major storage consumers as well. Let's go ahead with another one, that is your availability, and that is your 10th functions of the services in the client server model. In the availability here, that is that the similar to the mainframe data centers, that environment, and that today's servers are expected to be up and running most of the time, and the 24 into 7, that is 24 hours 7 days a week, that uptime for the server is not at an unusual. And the another we have your multimedia, that is your 11th one. In the multimedia here, that the images, videos, sound applications are becoming more and more popular, so that the requirement for the server system that may include the ability to store not only the digitalized images on a disk, but also that hypertext on an optical storage devices, and that is your WOM, that is comes under the write once read many, and the CDR, that is your CD recordable, and the DVD, that is your diversified video disc, and that is comes under in it, and the video and the sound data on a video cassettes, compact disc, and the video disc as well. That all come under the multimedia here. The another one we have, and the last one, that is your networking and communication. That is your 12th one. Networking and communication. In networking and communication here, that the client server communication happens over a communication network. Both client and server system that should have a built-in networking capabilities, and that without networking there is no client server interactions, and therefore no client and servers are there. So other than that, what we have to discuss about it, like explain, they had asked you about explain the distributed memory architecture, you can have to define it, and explain the shared nothing architecture, then also you have to answer it out. And that other one is your explain the shared disk system as well, that has also been asked here. Now we'll go ahead to discuss the Amdahl's law, and also let some current MPPP research issues. So we'll first discuss about the law here, that is Amdahl's law. In the Amdahl's law here, that the Amdahl's law of the scalability states that every process in the universe has a component, and that is inherently sequential. So that is the formula for this we have here is, that is Tn equals to T1 of P upon N plus T1 1 minus P. So for that, here that Tn stands for the computing time with n processor, where T1 is that computing time with one processor, and of course the P here, that it is that the percent which can be parallelized. So speed limit as the n approaches infinite, that is we'll find it out by 1 upon that is your 1 minus P, and that for the speed limit for the n approaches infinite is, and there are the some current MPP research issues which are discussed, and that what we have to discuss as well. So let's go ahead. Some current MPP research issue. With this, the first we have is your, that is your traditional performance measurement. Traditional performance measurements. In this, that these measurements have to be redefined for the MPP SMP systems. The second we have here is your, that is the scalability. In the terms of the scalability here, that it describes how the system performance is affected by the numbers of PUs or the problem size as well. The another we will discuss about it, the another one here, and that comes under in it, and that what we have to even though discuss about it. The third we have is your operating system. In the term of operating system, the operating system designs and the construction is an open problem, specifically in the area of the microkernels, OOPS, load and balancing, etc. as well. So in the same case, the another one we have here is your task scheduling. That is your fourth one, task scheduling. In the terms of the task scheduling, if I'm talking about here, that is comes under in it, and that is this is a rare issue that leads to a number of heuristic solutions. The another one we have is your the fifth one, that is the compiler and optimization work. That is your fifth one, compiler and optimization work. In the compiler and optimization work, if I'm talking about, if I'm dealing with it, so here in this that is it focuses on the two approaches. The first approach we have here is your implicit approach. In the implicit approach, it modifies the existing languages or creates a new concept that helps the programmer. And the second we have here is your explicit. In the explicit here, that it extends existing languages, introduces a new languages to express the that is your parallelism here. The sixth we have is your innovative programming method. Innovative programming method. In the innovative programming method here, that is it includes issues like MIME based programming and the data parallel programming, that is the functional programming, and that the tuple space programming as well. And the next in the same case we will be having the another one, that is the heterogeneous processing, reliability and code portability. That comes under in it, and that is your heterogeneous processing, reliability and code portability. In the code portability as well. And the next we have the another one, and the last one is your database system. In the database system, if I'm talking about, that some vendors and the researchers in the scientific community are working diligently to develop the truly parallel database management system. Now we'll go ahead to discuss about, write a short note on a cluster system. Cluster system. In the terms of the cluster system here, in the cluster system, that every PU executes a copy of operating system, and the inter-PU communications are that performed over as open system based interconnect, that is the Ethernet TCP/IP, by either spatial operating system or by some add-on a software component. The high latency and the low bandwidth of the interconnection network that limit the cluster's ability to efficiently communicate data between nodes, and the clustered system that are more sensitive to the communication data sharing and synchronization requirement than MPP system. The cluster systems are designed for the high availability by providing the shared access to the disk and a better balancing between the processor bound and an input-output bound task as well. The cluster system that can successfully deployed for both the scientific and the commercial application. The modern cluster system that describes many characteristics of MPP system, including a very high speed, scalable interconnections mechanism, and a compact clusters in a box, that packaging and support the hundreds of PUs as well. Talking about the distributed memory clusters of the 4-ways SMP nodes, that we'll discuss about it in the terms of the cluster system. So here we have a diagram for this. So for that we have here is your interconnection network. In the interconnection network, they are connected to the four-way SMP. Four-way SMP. Four-way SMP here, and these were connected to the disk as well. In this, that is your distributed memory clusters or the four-ways SMP nodes as well. Now we'll discuss about it, that what are the advances in multiprocessing architecture. Advances in multiprocessing architecture. In this, in a shared memory architecture, there is an inherent limitations due to the need to keep the cache lines coherent, and the scalability is reduced as the number of the processing nodes increases. And to overcome this problem and to maintain a familiar programming model, that two innovative architecture has been proposed. The first is the cache coherent non-uniform memory access, that is CC-NUMA, and another is the that is your cache only memory architecture, that is COMA. So let's go ahead with each and every one in a detail. That first is your cache coherent non-uniform memory access, and that stands for CC-NUMA. The second we have is your cache only memory architecture, and that is so. With this is CC-NUMA architecture. We'll talk about the two other nodes, that is SCI bridges has been connected to one another, node 1, node 2, node 3, and that is connected to the memory, and that is connected to the as well as to the bridges as well. In the NUMA style system, that the memory bus addresses of the processing node is used to find out home node memory locations of a particular data element, and on each processing node, that the cache hierarchy is constructed to replicate and hold copies of the data from not only on the local memory but also the memory of the remote nodes as well. A directory and a hardware coherence mechanism that serves to keep these cache copies consistent, and while the caching helps to reduce the access latency, otherwise the remote memory, that the total availability memory, is restricted to the size of cache on each node as well. In the same case, that a typical new generations, that is CC-NUMA system, that consists of the multiple 4 processor standard and a high volume, that is SHV motherboards, and that these are joined by the standard based interconnections technology that implements the CC-NUMA across the entire system as well. Now we will go ahead with the detail, that is your data warehouse software components. Here we will discuss about the extractions and transformations and warehouse technologies, and as well as the data access and retrievals as well. And the key component of the data warehouse architecture is a set of the tools that supports the data sourcing, extraction, cleanup, and transformation, which represents the critical success factors for any data warehouse projects as well. And other than that, we'll discuss about the metadata as well. That is, it is one of the most important aspects of the data warehousing, and it is the data about the data stored in the warehouse and its user as well, that we'll discuss in a detail as well here. Let's go ahead with the thing that what you have to discuss about it. The first question they can ask you about, with the help of a figure, you have to explain the data warehouse software component. So let's go ahead. data warehouse software component. In this, that warehouse team that will require several different types of the tools during the courses of the warehouse projects, and these software products generally fall into one or more of the categories that what we have to discuss here. And where we'll have to discuss about the extractions and transformation warehouse technologies and the data access and retrieval as well. In the same case, where in the extractions and transformation we have in the extraction and transformation, that what we have to discuss, we'll go ahead with the figure as well. So here in the extraction and transformation, then we have to discuss about the warehouse technology. Then again we have your data access and retrieval. In this, the first we have here is your, that is your source data. Then that is connected to your, that is your middleware. Then that is connected to the extraction. That is connected to the transformation. Then that is connected to the quality assurance. And after that, that is connected to the load image, that is creation. And in the data warehouse technology, we have here is your, this is your data, that is your marts. These were data marts. And this is your data warehousing. And that is connected to the metadata. Okay, this is connected to the data marts as well. So these data warehousing has been connected to the OLAP in the data access. That is connected to your, that is your report writers. That is connected to EIS, DSS. That is even though connected to the data mining. And eventually they had connected to the alert system. And this is the exception reporting, where the data warehouse software components we have to talk about it. Now we'll go ahead with the detail that first we have to discuss about the extraction and transformation. As a part of the data extractions and the transformation process, the warehouse team requires tools that can extract, transform and integrate and clean load data from the source systems into one or more data warehouse databases, and middleware and the gateway products that may be required for the warehouse that extract the data from the host-based source system as well. The second, we have your warehouse storage. Here in this, the software products are also required to store the warehouse data and their accompanying the metadata relational database and that management system in a particular that are well suited to the large and a growing warehouse as well. In the next, we have your data access and retrieval in a different types of a software that are required to access, retrieve, distribute, and prevent a data warehouse data to its end user as well. Now we'll discuss about the tools requirement in the data warehouse, and that goes in a detail here. So here we'll go ahead to discuss about it, and that is the tools requirement in data warehouse. Tools requirement in a data warehouse in this term that the tools that allows the sourcing of the data, contents and formats properly in external data stores into the data warehouse have to perform a number of important tasks that contain the data considerations and integrations, data transformations from one format to another, data transformation and calculation that is based on the application of business rules and that force a transformation, metadata synchronization and management, which includes the storing or updating the metadata about source files, transformation actions, loading formats and events. And there are the several selections criteria which should be considered while implementing in a data warehouse, that the ability to identify the data in a data source environment that can be read by tools is necessary, and support for flat files, indexed files and legacy DBMS is critical, and the capacity to merge the data from the multiple data stores that is required in many installations, and the specification interfaces to indicate the data to be extracted, and the conversation is important as well. The ability to read the information from the repository products or the data dictionaries is desired, and the code generated by the tool that should be completely maintainable, and selective data extractions of both data elements and the records that enables the users to extract only the required data as well. In the same case, talking about a field level data examination for the transformations of the data into the information is needed, and that the ability to perform the data type and the character set translations is a requirement when moving a data between the translation is required, and when moving data between incompatible system as well. The ability to create the aggregations, summarizations and derivations fields and records is necessary. The vendor stabilities and the support for the products are items that must be evaluated carefully as well. I will discuss the various vendors approaches. Various vendors approaches. In the various vendors approaches, due to a rapid increase in the growth of the vendors, data warehouse has been given a birth to the vendors that focuses on the requirements pertaining to the data warehouse implementations, and where the code generators create the tailored 3GL 4GL transformation program that is based on the source and the target data definitions, and transformation and enhancement rule that is defined by the developers. This technique reduces the need for an organization to write its own data captures, transformations, and load programs. And the issues with this approach is the management of the large numbers of the program that is needed to support a complex corporate information system as well. The next, the database data replications tools employ the database triggers a recovery that log to the capture changes to a single that is a data source on one system, and apply the changes to a copy of the source's data that located on a different system. Most application products do not support changes to the non-relational files and the database as well. The third in this that the vendors approaches we have here, that the rule driven by that the dynamic transformation engines that captures the data from the sources systems at the user defined intervals that transform the data and then send and then load the result into a target environment. Typically, a data mart that the data captured by a source system is mostly defined by a query language statement, and a data transformation and enhancement is done by a script or function logic defined to tool as well. We will talk about the another one, that is what is access to legacy data here. Access to legacy data, where we'll have to discuss about it. And in this, the today's many organizations are adopting the client server technologies and the data warehousing to meet the customers demand for the new products and the services, and to acquire a competitive advantages. Thus the need to achieve the seamless integrations of the heterogeneous environment, and to provide the enterprises here and with a wide access to the legacy system, that becomes a paramount for any organization that want to meet the objectives of the both user community and IT organization, while protecting their heavy financial investment in hardware and software, and utilizing an important that strategic resources enterprises access is designated, and that is designed for the scalability and the manageability in a data warehousing computing and environment. And due to the enterprises access that the legacy systems or the virtually any platform that can be connected to a new data warehouse that via client server interfaces, that enterprises access that provides a three-tiered architecture that defines how the applications are partitioned to meet both a near team integrations and a long-term migrations objective as well, where the data layers that provide the transaction services and the data assets for the management of corporate data assets, and that the process layer that provides the services to manage the automations and support for current business processes as well, and the user layer that manages the user interactions with the process, and the data layer that services as well, and a data warehouse data that stores that can be developed, or a virtual shared corporate database that can access the legacy system due to the enterprises and as well as the assets. And there are two models for the enterprises assets. That is, the first model is the enterprises assets that act as in a virtual database. The host interfaces and the business transactions are defined entirely in an enterprises asset. And in a second model, that the enterprises access an open gateway use a SQL server as a virtual database, and that host enterprises are located in enterprises assets, while business logic is implemented via the stored procedures as well. Now we'll talk about the following vendor solutions. The first is your Validity Corporation. Vendors solution, where the first we have is your Validity Corporation. In the Validity Corporation, it is a tool which is used to standardize, investigate, and transform and integrate the data from the multiple operational system and external sources, and its main focuses is on the data quality. Integrity is multi-purpose specialized data tools that organizations apply on a project, such as the data audits and system considerations as well, and where the data warehouse and the decision support system, and as well as that is year 200 projects as well, and client server application comes under in it, and that rewrites of existing operational system as well, where comes under the integrity, and that does not complete with the data extractions tools that clean, accurate information and consolidate it, and integrity that attains the highest levels of data accuracy, and of course that is the equality, the quality of being able to understand and handle this value in each field of each record occurrence as well. The final the final solutions for the data extractions, transformations, and the legacy access tool that suit for the building data warehouse in the EDA, SQL, and from the information builders as well. It's that a family of the products provides the SQL access to an uniform relational view of the relational and non-relational data residing over 60 different database on 35 different platforms, and where EDA SQL implements a client server model that is an optimized for us higher performances, and it supports a copy management, that the data quality, data replication capabilities, and a support for the both DBC and the that open CLI as well. I will discuss about a short note on evolutionary technologies. in the evolutionary technologies here, that it is another example of the data extractions and the transformation tools in the ATI extract tool suite for the evolutionary technologies. This product automates and explicits the that is migrations data between the dissimilar storage environments, and partially allowing the organization to save up to 93% of time and cost resembles users too, and that is comes under in it. Even though that provide a graphical interfaces that allows the users to indicate how to move the data through the simple point and click integrations, where the components of ATI extract tools suit like that the ATI extract executive, ATI extract work set browser, ATI extract metadata facility, the metadata store database, the metadata exchange library. And the key features of this tool is its ability to support the conditional data selections and the transformation that can be conditional and that can be done programmatically, and it also provides a broad range of the metadata management option as well. The ATI extract tool suites that consist of the two sets of the productivity tool. The first is the master tool set and the second is the conversion editor. In the master that is master tool set, if I'm talking about, in the master tool set, in this that the environment editor that allows the specification of each different platform and the system operating system, that the schema editor that provides the easy access for browsing or updating the schema information as well. That the grammar editor that offers a specified means for defining the customized conditional retrieval transformations and populate that logic to meet the environment needs as well. And that the template editors that enables a rapid specifications of the programming rules to shape the way that the data retrieval and the conversions and populate program as well. The second we have here is your conversion editor. In the conversion editors here, it allows the users to create a program which tests and transform data, and where in the same case, if I'm talking about here, that merge the data from the multiple subsystems to generate a new database, and that retrieve the data from one or more databases or the file formats as well, and that to populate with metadata here, and that is in the data warehousing. The metadata is one of the important aspects, and it is the data about data stored in the warehouse and its user, where the metadata includes the following: that the locations and the descriptions of the warehouse system, and of course the components as well. And in the same case, that the names, definitions, structures and contents of the data warehouse and the end users use as well, and the identification of the authorities, that the data sources and the integrations, and integrations and the transformations rules that is used to populate the data, and even the integrations and the transformation rules used to deliver the data to end the users, analytical that tools, and the subscription information for the information delivery to the analysis subscriber as well. The matrices used to analyze the warehouse uses and the performances, and the security authorization access control list, etc. as well. In the same case, the metadata is used for building the maintaining the managing and using the data warehouse metadata that allow users to access, help understand the content and find the data as well. I will discuss about explain the metadata interchange initiative. So here in the same case, talking about the metadata that initiative that interchanges here, in the same case gets go ahead with this, and that is to maintain metadata interchange initiative. In this, the metadata interchange initiative was proposed to bring the industry vendors and users together to address a variety of difficult problems and issues with respect to exchanging, the sharing and managing the data metadata as well. The goal of the metadata interchange the standards is to define an extensible mechanism that will allow the vendors to exchange common metadata as well as carry along proprietary metadata The founding the members agreed on the following initial goals, that is, the first is to creating a vendors independent, industry defined and a maintained standard access mechanism and an application program interface, that is API, for the metadata as well. In the same case, that enabling the users to control and manage the access and manipulations of the metadata in their unique environment through the use of the interchange standard complaints tools as well, and the users that are allowed to build the tools that meet their needs and also allow them to adjust accordingly those tools configuration as well, and allowing the individual tools to satisfy their metadata requirements freely and easily within the content of an interchange model, and describing a simple clean implementation infrastructure which will facilitate compliances and speed up the adoptions, determining the component, the amount of the modification as well, and to create a procedures in the process not only for maintaining and establishing the interchange standard specification but also the specifying and updating then extended it over time as well. There are two distinct metadata defined as in the metadata interchange standard. The first is the metadata meta model and the application meta model. So these were the two here. The first is your metadata model. The second is application meta model. And here the another one is your write a short note on a metadata interchange standards framework. So that we'll discuss in a deep here. That is your metadata interchange standard framework. In this, if I'm talking about it, that interchange standard metadata models, that implementations assume that the metadata itself may be stored in a storage format of any type like ASCII files, relational files, fixed or a customized format, etc. It is a framework that is based on the framework that will translate and access request into the interchange standard index, and the several approaches has been proposed in the metadata interchange coalitions as well. The first is your procedural approach. The second is your ASCII batch approach, and the third is your hybrid approach as well. In a procedural approach, that the communication with APIs is built into the tools and it enables the highest degree of flexibility. In ASCII batch approach, that instead of really on the ASF file format, which includes the descriptions of the common metadata components and standardization access requirement that make up the interchange standard metadata models as well. In a hybrid approach, it allows a data-driven model and components of the metadata that will interchange standard frameworks. We'll discuss about it. That is your components. In the components, the first component is the standard metadata here. Standard metadata. In this, that is your standard metadata model here. It refers to the ASCII file format which is used to represent the metadata that is being exchanged here, where we have our standard meta models and then the standard API, standard access framework, user configuration that is connected to the tool profiles, and these tool 1, tool 2, tool 3, tool 4. These were the meta interchanges standard framework as well. In the same case, that the standard ASS framework that describes the minimum numbers of API functions, and the tools profiles which is provided by each tools vendors, and the user configuration that is the file explaining the legal interchange path for the metadata on the user's environment as well. Now we'll discuss about the next and the last topic of this unit, that is unit 2, and that is your metadata repository. In the metadata repository, the metadata itself is housed in and managed by the metadata repository, the software of the metadata repository management that can be used to map the source data to target the database, integrate and transform the data, that generate the code for the data transformation and moving the data to the warehouse. The benefits of the metadata repository we have, there are many benefits. That is, it provides a set of the tools for the enterprises wide metadata management. It eliminates and reduces inconsistency, redundancy, and the underutilization. It improves the organizational control, simplifies the management and accounting of information assets. It increases the coordination, understanding, identification, and utilization of the information assets. It enforces the case development standards with the ability to share and reuse the metadata. It leverages that investment in a legacy system and utilizes the existing application. It provides a relational model for the heterogeneous RDBMS to share the information. It provides the effective data administration tools to manage the corporate information assets with the data dictionary, and it increases the reliability, control, and flexibility of the application development process as well. Where we have some of the diagrams related to the data warehouse architecture and the tools that landscape and the metadata integration policies. If you require of, you can just comment it on. I will provide you that as well. First of all, we'll end up with second unit and we'll continue with the next third unit in the next coming classes. And first of all, what we had covered up is your unit 1, where the data warehousing and that overview definitions, data warehousing components and building of the data warehousing database, mapping of the data warehouse to the microprocessor architecture, difference between the database system and the data warehouse, multi-dimensional data models and the data cubes, and of course the stars, snowflakes, and of course stack constellation, concept hierarchy, process as architecture, three-tier architecture, data that is your marting as well. In the unit 2, what we had covered up in this class, that is your data warehousing process and technology. Here what we have to cover up is the unit 2, that is the warehouse strategies, warehouse management and support, processes, warehouse planning and implementation, hardware and operating system for the data warehouse, client server computing model and a data warehouse, parallel processors and a cluster system, distributed DBMS implementation, warehousing software, warehouse schema, design and the data extraction, cleanup and transformation tool, warehouse metadata as well. In unit 3, what we have to cover up is your data mining and reduction. We'll start with the next classes that we have to cover up the overview, motivations, the definition, functionalities, data processing and form of the data processing, data clustering, that missing values, noisy data, binding, clustering, regressions, computers and the human inspections, inconsistent data, data integration and transformation, data reduction, data cube aggregation, dimensional reductions and the data compressions, numerosity reduction, discretions in the concept hierarchy generation and the decision tree as well. In unit 4, we have to cover up with the classification and clustering, classification definitions, data generalization, analytical characterizations, analysis of the attribute relevance, spanning class companies, comparisons, statistical measures in the large databases, statistical based algorithm, that is the distance based algorithm, decision tree based algorithm, and clustering, interactions, similarities in the distance measures, hierarchical and a partitional algorithm, hierarchical stack clustering, Cure and chameleon, density based method, that is DB scan, optics, grid based method, strings, click, that is your model based method, statistical approach, associations, rule, interaction, large item sets, basic algorithm, parallel and distributed algorithm, and neural network approach as well. In unit 5, what we have to cover up is your data visualization, which is aggregations, historical information, query facilities, OLAP functions and tools, OLAP services, ROLAP, MOLAP, OLAP, and data mining as well. And that is the interfaces as well, and that is security, backups and recovery, during data, turning data warehousing, testing data warehousing application, and the recent trends, types of warehousing application, web mining, spatial mining, and a temporal mining as well. And where we have to cover up very short types of questions in all related these units as well. First of all, it's a huge request from my side to all the viewers, please go through with the subscribe button and please like, share and subscribe our channel so that many and maximum people can get the information at once, and even though you can also enjoy the video as well, and you will get all the related videos in the terms of the subjects as well as the raising in the competition wise, that you will be getting out in an easy way. Go through with the playlist, because each and every subject we have made it a playlist and you will be getting all the videos in an easy way. Thank you, hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and give a suggestion in the comment box. Please like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you.